It's Friday. We've got a good show for you today. Unfortunately, we have to continue to talk about this story about Disney Star Wars, them pulling the plug on solo Star Wars movies. Yesterday, ABC News reported that the Collider report that had come out earlier that day was in fact inaccurate. So does this mean we're actually going to get the Obi-Wan film? I'm going to break that down, talk about what all of that means. And I want to finish off the show by talking about a weird story that came up when I was watching Jedi Council. This all has to do with Bob Iger possibly needing way more of the blame for the current state of Star Wars than Kathy Kennedy. We're going to get into all of that right now. This is the Nerdy News Rundown, your daily dose for nerdy news. Let's get you filled in. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Happy Friday to everyone. Man, you made it through another week. Good job. Did this stuff get you through the week? Because it did for me. All right, let's get right into this. Look, guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you here. Look, I like to do this, man. I like to just be honest with you guys. I was frustrated that I even had to talk about this story today. I was sitting there with my laptop doing research for this morning's show, and I'm just like, please something else big drop. Please something drop. Give me an Avengers thing. Give me some DC news. You know what I mean? Talk about something crazy. I need something else to talk about. But no, alas, that is not the way that the internet works. We are going to indeed continue to talk about this Lucasfilm Disney Star Wars story. Now, you will remember yesterday I reported that Collider had sources explain to them that Star Wars was putting the solo movies, the standalone films, on hold. This was, of course, broke by Steve Frosty Weintraub of Collider. He's the editor-in-chief for Collider.com. And honestly, he's an incredibly trustworthy guy. And if you watch the video that he did after they broke that news, man, it really explains exactly where his head is at, what kind of sources told him what exactly, and what he thinks it means. It was a really well-done video, a really well-done article, and a good exclusive, in my opinion. Fast forward to like 6 hours later, and ABC News was told directly from Disney, which, by the way, Disney owns ABC, but ABC News was told directly by Disney that that Collider report was inaccurate. And this is the statement that they made. They said there are several Star Wars movies not attached to saga films that are still in development. These are separate from the Rian Johnson trilogy and the Dan and Dave series of films.
I'm an old man, I'm confused!
Mr. Krabs, I am so confused!
So yeah, a lot of people then ran with the story that, wow, the Collider scoop must have been inaccurate. I mean, ABC News is getting this directly from Disney, so yeah, apparently that means that that other story was fake. So what is actually going on? Well, here's the thing. If you look at the way that the ABC News report came out, there's a couple of interesting things within it. I want to sort of pick it apart, juxtapose it against what Frosty said, and then we will come to our own conclusion about what the is actually going on. So in the ABC report, it does indeed say that several films are going to be in development and that are still in development, and they are not attached to the main saga movies. Now, right there at face value, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so maybe the Rian Johnson trilogy, technically still in development, technically not a part of a saga film. Maybe that's what they're talking about. But then the second part of that statement really nails that home. They say, no, this is separate from the Dan and Dave series of films and separate from the Rian Johnson trilogy. So they covered their bases there for sure. And it really seems like, to me at least, that Disney was paying attention to all of the buzz online that was created after Collider broke that story. They watched it all go down. They saw that the reaction was mostly negative, and it also fed into that narrative that they are in trouble and need to make changes. And so they decided to come out and try to squash the story. So it reeks of awareness of what was going on online. But once again, guys, I just have to explain, I'm frustrated because it just feels like they're missing the point. I mean, if they're really paying attention to all of the buzz, then instead of coming out and saying, no, that report is false, maybe they should have come out and say, no, we are making the Obi-Wan movie. Everyone chill out. We saw that you really want it. We are doing it. But instead, no, they put their energy trying to squash a story that to them made them look bad. And the bottom line is, when you say in development, that can mean any number of things. Technically, you can freeze development. And there's this thing in Hollywood called development hell, which is basically a film is still technically in development for a studio, but all that means is that they have a script, they will occasionally have a writer look at it, maybe do a new version of it, but these things can literally sit on shelves for decades. They're dead by all rights, or at least put on hold, but you can technically still say that they are in development. And so once again, without clarity, without ABC or Disney coming out and being clear about what kind of films they are actually talking about, what films are in what stage of development, man, there's a lot of ambiguity there. So I don't know, man. It just feels like they're trying to save face. I personally do not buy it at all. So juxtapose that against what Frosty said. And the thing I really love about Frosty's video in particular is that he really gets in depth on what it means for development. Like, who are these people that are sources? What are they saying to him? Why does he believe it? And he has a ton of credibility. Steve is not the type of guy that would come out there and do something like this just for clicks. In fact, in the video, he said, look, this could technically change. The way you think of development is a subjective thing. It's a liquid process in Hollywood. But he came out and said, I am very confident in what I am reporting is accurate today. And I have to go with Frosty on this one, man. I literally believe that they have made that decision, that they are putting these films on hold. Now, to be fair to ABC, this might be a situation in which they are trying to explain that no, these movies are not dead, they are not gone forever, and they are still in development. So basically this idea of them being put on hold or a hiatus is way easier of a pill for people to swallow than the fact that they are just simply gone. It also seems less reactionary, and so I can see why Disney would want this message to be out there. And so, to wrap it up, to summarize here, ABC made a report yesterday refuting the Collider report, but the language they used to refute it was too ambiguous for me to personally say that the Collider report was all inaccurate. No, I think instead you are getting two very different truths that from a certain point of view are still correct. So that's where that story stands. I don't know, I guess an update, a clarification, if you will, to what is happening. But I want to know what all of you think about this. What do you think is actually going on here? Do you think that the Collider report was so inaccurate? Do you think that Disney saw that that was false and came out and was like, no, this is exactly what is happening? Do you think the Collider report was accurate and this Disney cover-up is kind of lackluster? Whatever your thoughts are about this story, let me know in the comments section. I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts. I want to hear them. All right, let's finish off the show by talking about Bob Iger. Bob Iger is, of course, in charge of Disney, not Lucasfilm, not Marvel Studios, not Pixar, but Disney. He is the head honcho over there, the big wig. He's Kathy Kennedy's boss, okay? And so this story really has to do with something that I heard being discussed on Jedi Council. I'm a huge fan of Christian Harloff, Ken Knapsack, all those guys over there at Collider. Big time shout out to them. And so one of the things that they brought up was these weird reports that when it came to Solo, that Bob Iger and Disney actually forced Kathy Kennedy and Lucasfilm to release Solo in May. There were all these other reports about how there's merchandising things going on where there were Infinity War toys being out there, not allowing for end cap space in Targets, Toys R Us's, and different places like that for Solo toys. And basically the idea here is that a lot of stuff is being mandated down to Kathy Kennedy and Lucasfilm from Disney, and in all reality, Kathy Kennedy is getting the brunt of all of the disgruntled fans, all of the people that have a problem with what Lucasfilm and Disney Star Wars is doing. All of that focus goes on Kathy Kennedy. But the more I hear reports like this, the more I have to think, how much of this is actually her fault? I mean, when you consider the Solo thing, if it indeed was Bob Iger, which there are also reports out there that Bob was the one that wanted to pull the plug on Lord and Miller. I mean, I don't know. We can't, there's nothing out there that's official on that. But let's just go down this road for a little bit here. If that is indeed the case, and they did actually balloon the budget because of Disney, and they wanted to hit that release date because of Bob Iger and Disney, then a lot of the failure of Solo falls to the feet of Bob. I mean, Bob Iger is like this just really old school dude, and he's a great CEO. He knows how to work shareholders. He knows how to work a room. He's charismatic. He's powerful. He's everything that you probably want in someone in that position. But is he maybe using that power a little bit too much? Is he maybe putting too much of his fingerprint on Star Wars and Lucasfilm? I mean, there are reports out there that Bob Iger absolutely loved The Last Jedi. He is the biggest fan of Rian Johnson, and he actually pushed very much for the Rian Johnson trilogy to be greenlit before that movie even came out. And so if Bob is playing this whole marketing game, this whole shareholders game, and he's sort of using Star Wars as leverage within that kind of an environment, then maybe some of the criticisms, like Star Wars kind of being soulless, only chasing the money, only using that brand to just leverage itself in future business decisions, if all of that is part of that narrative and maybe falls on Bob, then A, we need to be talking about that a little bit more, and B, maybe we should lay off Kathy Kennedy just a bit. Another thought I had about this when I was researching this point was like, what if this is why Kathy Kennedy isn't saying anything? What if this is why she's not being vocal about some of the big changes that need to be made and some of the mistakes that Lucasfilm has already done? I mean, think about it. I mean, she can't really come out and say like, oh man, this is Bob Iger's fault. He told me to release Solo in May. Or, oh, this is Bob Iger's fault. He was the one that was like, no, let's let Rian do whatever he wants in this next movie. Ultimately, as the face of the company and the leader of the company, Kathy Kennedy still owns that responsibility, and she should fall on that sword if things are indeed as bad as a lot of people think they are. But I just wanted to bring this story up and talk to you guys about it because I think it's an interesting point. What do you think about this in general? Have you heard any of these very similar reports? Do you think that Bob needs to just let Disney or let Lucasfilm do its own thing and they're being too kind of constrained because of the value of this? I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people are criticizing Lucasfilm Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, because it is playing it too safe. But those kind of safe moves tend to come from very high up on the ladder. And so anyways, that's the story out there. Just more of a think piece than anything, but I wanted to bring it up and I want to know what all of you are thinking about that in the comment section below. You can click below to watch more dope videos. You can click our icon to subscribe to get all of our future content. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.